On the second week of February, we got the 1517 to Paris, we got 50 Shades Freed, which I didn't see yet, and we got Peter Rabbit. And going into that weekend, I thought, okay, clearly the best movie is going to be the 1517 to Paris. I wasn't looking forward to it that much. I had my doubts and my worries about the film, especially from the trailer, but I figured clearly it's going to be better than Peter Rabbit, and clearly it's going to be better than 50 Shades Freed. It actually has a shot of being one of the worst films I've seen this year, though. Worse than Peter Rabbit? And once I see 50 Shades Freed, I don't know for sure, but it might be worse than that. Now I didn't research what really happened on this train to Paris. I don't know the full story or the truth about it. I don't like that to get in the way of the movie experience. I like the movie to explain it and like to just enjoy the movie for what it is. But I do remember a little bit of it because I watched news articles for it while I worked in the hospital rooms and cleaned the rooms, and it happened to be on TV at the time, so I know of the event. Now, this new Clint Eastwood directed film is about that attack on this train to Paris, where this terrorist boarded. He was going to kill a bunch of people. He brought close to 300 rounds of ammunition with him, but before anything truly tragic could happen, he was stopped by a few passengers on that train. And of course, this movie is about the 3 Americans that were on that train that helped stop this terrorist. At least that's what the marketing wants you to believe. At least that's what you were hoping it would be about. But instead it's more about the lives of these 3 Americans before the event. Like when they first met in middle school, and how they joined the military, or at least 2 of them did, and then how they went on a trip through Europe, and then the last 10 to 15 minutes of it actually being the train attack. Oh boy, what can I actually say about this film that I consider good? There's very little, honestly, which is very sad. First off, I don't want to sound terrible and mean about the actual people that stopped this terrorist and helped take this terrorist down before anything truly tragic or some terrible catastrophe could have happened. What these passengers did to stop the terrorists is very heroic, and I don't want to demean that. I don't want to say anything bad about that. They're heroes. I'm not judging their heroic act. I am judging this film, how it plays out, how the story is, and there is so many flaws and so many just terrible, boring, mundane stuff that ultimately I did not like this film. The thing that I can say good about it is the actual event. Whenever it's on the train, how it's shot, how it's acted, how it's performed, it's thrilling, it's engaging, it is easily the best thing about this movie. So basically 2 flashback moments where it actually goes to the train, which is very spaced out, and then the actual last couple minutes of the film are easily the best thing about the film. And if this was a 20 to 30 minute short, that would be grand and fantastic and good. Unfortunately, this is 94 minutes long. And about 80 minutes of this 94-minute film is just filled with stuff that doesn't matter. So yeah, the events, best part of the movie, it's the only thing I liked about the movie. Everything else was bad. Now, I knew the acting was going to be bad from our main 3 characters. They aren't professional actors. They're actually the real people, the real Americans that were on that train that helped stop the terrorist. I knew going into the film that they weren't professional actors, and I'm going to give them some leeway because, okay, clearly they can't act, they're not actors, and you have to sort of accept it in some semblance, in some way. So I really don't want to judge them, I don't want to say bad things about them, but I can say something about the other actors in this film because there's plenty of professional actors in this film that were just as bad or sometimes worse than our main characters. But then again, what did some of these actors have to work with? The dialogue and script is easily the worst thing about this movie. There are some lines in this movie, some questionable, just random and just stupid lines that physically made me groan. Because I want to stay respectful for everyone else's experience, because if I'm not liking a movie, there's still a chance that someone else in the theater is liking it, and I don't want to ruin their enjoyment. But there was one line of dialogue towards the beginning of this film where I couldn't help it. I groaned. It sounded like something off of a Pure Flix movie. Basically, a really bad Christian film. I'm not saying Christian films are bad, just a really poorly made Christian film that is trying to make you feel like you're being attacked, that your Christianity is being attacked and you should do something about it. It feels like a Pure Flix film. Let me set up this scene, because it's one of the first scenes in the movie where the parents of two of our American heroes, this is when they're in middle school, mind you, these teachers go into the classroom for the parent-teacher conference. They're like, oh, our sons are friends, we're friends, we can attack two birds with one stone, so to speak, by having the parent-teacher conference together with the teacher. And the teacher's like, okay, well, I'm really worried about your boys. And they're like, oh yeah, there's some bullying and stuff, but we're trying to talk to them. And no, ma'am, you don't understand. They're not focusing in class. And I have a feeling they might have ADHD. Now granted, this is a teacher. She's not a doctor. Clearly she can misdiagnose it. But the parents act in a way as if that ADHD does not exist. It's a made-up thing. And how dare you say that our kids have this made-up disease. And the teacher is calmly talking and trying to explain her reasoning and her doubts and her fears and how you could solve this. And the parents are just attacking this teacher, and we're supposed to root for the parents, I believe. But throughout the scene, I'm just thinking, oh my God, these parents are terrible. Oh my God, we're supposed to root for them? Oh my God. But before the parents leave, there's one bit of dialogue. This is the moment where I actually groaned in the theater because I could not take this line of dialogue. My God is bigger than your statistics. Not only that, if the line feels completely random and forced, religion and God is not brought up in that entire scene until the very end, and it just feels like something a Pure Flix or a bad Christian movie would force into the scene just at the last minute. It is it is baffling, and the funny thing, later on we find out that the school is a Christian school. And yeah. But trust me, there is some crazy line delivery. There is terrible lines throughout this entire film. It's cringe-inducing. And did I mention that this movie is boring? Because it is. I was at least hoping for it to be played out in a way that's kind of like Sully, where, granted, it would feel like a copycat of Sully, but having a copycat of Sully for this film would be far better than what we actually got. I was hoping for like the event to happen and for it to be replayed from different perspectives, and you get a little bit more in each viewing, kind of like Sully, because in Sully the event was played about 3 or 4 times within the movie. each getting a different perspective of the event. Meanwhile, a major story is happening after the plane crash or the landing in the Hudson River. And so we could have like maybe post-traumatic stress, or some of these people dealing with the decisions that they had to make after the train ride, you know. There could have been something, but instead you get the lives, the boring lives of these three men, or mainly one person of the three, before the train attack. Again, you see them in middle school when they first meet, the three of them, how they play war together, how they're troublemakers. Then they grow up and have jobs, and one of them decides to join the military, so he really pushes himself, and he keeps finding a way to fail and end up in a lower status than he wants to be. And then the three of them get together to go to Europe. And that's the worst part of the movie, because that's when the plot, what little plot we have, completely stalls and just completely goes flat. Because that's the longest part of the movie, it feels, because of how slow it is. Because first, one of them goes to Germany to meet a foreign exchange student, and you get one scene with them, but then the other two are in Italy, and they're visiting Rome and the Colosseum, and then they're visiting Sicily and Italy, and then they go to Germany, and so the three of them meet up, and they hear that, oh, don't go to Paris, but they're like, oh, but it's part of our trip. No, trust me, you want to go to Amsterdam. And so then they go to Amsterdam and have a rave and have fun there, and then they finally go on the train that will lead them to Paris, and it's like, just get to the attack. And wouldn't it be so mind-numbing if it didn't feel like we're watching some home video of some people vacationing? Like, it really feels like nothing is happening except them sightseeing. Now, I feel like I get what this film was trying to do. Unfortunately, I feel that what it was trying to do ended up failing, because I feel like this movie was trying to show that, okay, ordinary people can do great things, and sometimes there's destiny, and how all the little things that a person can do can lead to their destiny and make them achieve something great and be a hero. I think that's what the movie is trying to do, because it's trying to show little moments in their life that somehow help their decisions within the long run. You know what a great way of doing this would be? It would be unconventional structurally. How about have the train attack and then have flashbacks within these train attacks at times, like when something important is happening that they learned from their past, flashback, and then continue with the scene. I don't know, I think that would have been better than what we actually got, because it feels like a slog just to get to the movie that you think this movie's actually about. I think when this movie comes out on video, I'm going to have to do a longer review of it, because there's a lot to choose from this film about all the things not to do with filmmaking. To be honest, I think the major issues with this film is its story, is its dialogue, and is its directing. Which is very sad for me to say, because I do like Clint Eastwood and I like a lot of his movies that he's directed, but this has got to be the worst one I've seen. 1517 to Paris is the worst film I've seen so far this year. It might not be the worst objectively, but it's the worst that I've felt. It's the worst film that I've seen in theaters. And at least some of the other bad films that I have seen this year, I didn't expect much and knew I was going to see crap, and expected crap and got crap. This one I had a little bit of hope for, but it was crap. So, the 1517 to Paris, 1 star. Again, it's not the worst score I can give a movie, but currently it is the worst film I've seen so far this year, in 2018. So, have you seen the 1517 to Paris? What'd you think about it? Go ahead and comment below. And if you like this video and you want to see more, please subscribe and check out my movie reviews or countdowns of previous years or this year. As always, this is Bruce Gifford, and this was Just My Opinion.